What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Absolute Strength Podcast. I'm your host, Kyle Hunt, and we're back with another episode, and today's guest is Dr. Mike Israetel. He's coming back on the show. I know we just had him on, I think a couple weeks ago, but I promised that this episode, I would not let us spend the entire time talking about wrestling and jiu-jitsu. Although, as you'll hear in the beginning, we almost went down that path again. But no, I specifically wanted to bring Mike on to talk training and nutrition science. I mean, this dude's a wealth of knowledge on training, nutrition, and etc. But we got talking about weight cutting. So this turned into the weight cutting episode. Facts and fallacies on cutting weight for strength athletes. We also talk a little bit about other weight class sports as well. Really good episode. You're going to want to take notes on this one. Great information. But this is like pretty much going to turn into a series with Dr. Mike, I think. Because towards the end, I'm like, well, shit, this was a great episode. But I also want to talk about some training. I also want to talk about some general nutrition. So I think he's going to come back on. Here we go. He's a busy guy. So, whenever we can schedule him again. But be prepared for probably at least one more episode, probably two more episodes from Dr. Mike. Couple updates. A lot of people sent me some DMs on Instagram. It's just @HuntFitness, letting me know that they liked the new podcast art. And, I really like it. And it's wild because, as you guys know, I use Design Crowd. And, the design art I actually went with was the one that I had in my head right from the beginning. Like, that was kind of what I wanted. I just wanted a plain black and white, very clean look, something that no matter how big the image was, big, small, it clearly stated absolute strength. That was like the biggest complaint I got from the old podcast art was when it was small, you couldn't even see that it was absolute strength, which is not ideal. Obviously, when people are searching for the Absolute Strength podcast and the image doesn't just jump out. I mean, you want it to just jump out. Okay, no doubt that's the Absolute Strength podcast. And I really I just like black and white images. It seems like a lot of my favorite podcasts also use the black and white podcast art theme. I'm not sure why that is. I'm not copying them. Maybe I am. I don't think I am. I think it's just kind of my own style. It's kind of what I had in my head. But so anyway, this is when I use Design Crowd, this was kind of the design I had in my head. I tweaked it a little bit, but it was pretty much like if I had graphic arts ability, I would have just created pretty much what I got, which is great. I mean, ideally, that's what when you start a project, that's what you want. However, what made it difficult was I got so many other really cool ideas that I started to kind of question myself. I'm like, well, shit, there's some more intricate designs here that, might be a little bit better, more pleasing to the eye, a little bit more aesthetic. But then at the end of the day, I'm like, well, no, these are really cool designs, but at the end of the day, I wanted just a very clean, basic look. That's what I wanted. I mean, that's kind of, what I wanted the cover art, the podcast art for this podcast to be, because it really says a lot about the podcast. And this is what I wanted the cover of the book, so to speak, to be. And I was really happy with it. Actually, really, really happy with it. And if you have any design needs, we're still running that promotion. Absolute Strength listeners, so you guys can receive up to $100 off a design project at designcrowd.com/strength, or just enter the promo code strength. What's really cool about Design Crowd, I feel like I've gone on and on about this episode. Really, I'm not even officially starting the ad till right now. Everything else was just me talking. But like I've said in the previous episodes, what's cool about them is they crowdsource your logo designs. So it's not like you're working with one specific designer. You're getting multiple designers all bidding towards your job. So they're all sending in their ideas. And kind of like the process I went through, you might initially have what you want right in the beginning. Like, oh shit, this was a really good design. I really like this. But, however long you have I think my project went about 10 days. Then right at the end, at about the 7 or 8 day mark, I got a bunch of really cool designs, and I'm like, well, man, maybe those are the ones I want. So, and you can work with them, talk to them, make adjustments. It's really, really cool. I think, if you have a design project that you need, trust me, I've done this. I've been in this business for a long time, and it's a pain in the ass to find people initially, quality people, reputable people. But then it's only one person, and they have other projects going on, so it's a constant back and forth. If you use something like Design Crowd, it's easy. You just sign up, post a brief description of the project you want, and then Design Crowd invites 600,000 designers to submit, and then within hours, you have a few designs to pick from. And you'll probably get, I got like 65, 70 designs, and they say a typical project receives between 60 and 100, so, you have a lot of options. Like I said, designcrowd.com/strength. You can save up to $100. That is DESIGNCROWD.com/strength. Designcrowd.com/strength. All right. One last update. I'm currently writing 2 books. One, which is almost done, is kind of a sequel to Absolute Strength, but more specifically geared towards peaking for a powerlifting meet. So essentially, the original Absolute Strength is, like I've said before, more of like an off-season powerlifting program. This is designed to be run after Absolute Strength, leading up right to a meet. So we go over everything about peaking, taking you from point A to point B being stepping on the platform or just going into the gym and hitting a new PR. Because that was one of the big complaints about the original Absolute Strength. I've talked about this before, but it was more of an off-season program. And by design, it was a program that I wanted you to be able to run just consistently over and over again. And then, I provided a free peaking cycle with it just because I knew people would want that. But it was just kind of like something I threw together. It wasn't very intricate at all. This is Absolute Strength Peak Powerlifting. So that's coming out soon. The second book, I'm not going to tell you what it is, but that's my real baby. Super excited for that one. All right, let's get to the episode. Dr. Mike Israetel. So what's up, man? Thanks for coming back so quick.
You bet. Let's get right into the meat and potatoes of the not bullshitting about wrestling for an hour and get into some science.
That's funny. What's funny is this morning I was like, man, I would schedule Mike for the day that Beat the Streets is. That's tonight. I don't know if you follow that too closely.
Oh yeah, I do. Is that what's his name?
Burroughs
versus how do you say his last name?
I don't know. I was going to ask you.
I'm flying on you, Kyle. Come on, man.
I was going to ask you. I don't even. I'm going to butcher it.
Camizo?
Camizo. I think that's pretty close. Camizo.
Chamizo. It sounds very Italian.
Know. Yeah, it's Italian. Anyway, yeah. So that's matches tonight, but
they're they're in the same. Are they meeting at the same weight they always both wrestle at?
No, he's going up to wrestle Burroughs.
Yeah.
He looked a little soft at weigh-ins, but then again, he was up a weight class. So
yeah.
And Burroughs looked fucking jacked, more than normal.
Burroughs is one of the greatest of all time, really, if you think about it.
Yeah, he really is. He's a fucking animal. Built like a brick shithouse, too.
Yep. So, I don't know. What do you think? Prediction?
I think Burroughs would beat him.
Yeah.
I think so.
They say that Camizo or whatever has like some of the best takedown defense ever.
Yeah.
But Burroughs doesn't make a habit of not making takedowns.
Yeah, I was going to say, let's see how that works against that blast double.
Yep.
It's not even so much the first one, it's the second one. So you stop that first one, and then he just shoots again at you.
Yep.
Good luck. Did I see you got married today?
Yeah.
Wow, congratulations, man.
Thanks. Yeah, it's just a trip to the courthouse. We're doing all the celebration stuff in various other phases later. So it's just a technical marriage, so it's really simple.
Yeah. I was like, holy shit, big day.
Still doing the podcast.
You're still going on the podcast.
I did another podcast earlier. So
You're always hustling on the damn podcast.
Still working.
You're hustling, man. You're like I don't know. You go from one to the next.
That's
You're in high
man.
demand, though. That's good.
I guess.
So let's get into a little training this time. I almost didn't even want to bring up the Beat the Streets because I'm like, shit, that's dangerous. We could go down
totally
45 minutes
and we
later.
already did.
I know. It's wild. So I want to talk about, first I want to talk about weight cutting for powerlifting, but then I want to get into some training stuff. So with weight cutting, 24-hour versus 2-hour, and then just your general thoughts on it. Should there be a big weight cut process, or should you stay at your weight class?
Well, so if you are competitive, if you're going to a meet in which your victory really matters, if you've been at this a long time and you're inching away at really small PRs, if your weight class matters to you a lot and you're in a tight weight class, and if you're more advanced, then cutting weight is going to have to be a necessity if you're getting the most out of your training, short of course, a super heavyweight. Here's an example. You can safely cut weight with proper manipulations at 5%. So 5%, and because you're manipulating water, most of that weight is coming either from the vasculature or the muscles. So let's say that's 3% muscle mass that you carry extra above where you're going to be lifting. If you weigh 200 pounds, that's something like 6 pounds of muscle in the quads, in the chest, in the triceps, in the back, in the hamstrings, the glutes. That is a significant amount of cross-sectional area by which to produce force. You will lift more with 6 more pounds of muscle.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Absolutely. So that's, for an advanced lifter, intermediate to advanced, that's the amount of muscle you'll put on in a year of training. So you're really kind of asking yourself, do I want a year's training worth of muscle by just manipulating water? Of course.
Yeah.
The people we try to, so weight cutting is just natural to assume that it would work. And also, people say, well, what if you're just leaner? Well, what if you're leaner and you cut water weight? The ideal power lifter that's not a super heavyweight is somebody who's like sort of around 10% body fat, so like really lean.
And you definitely see that now with raw powerlifting. Like I think the lines got blurred a little bit with equipped, but especially in raw powerlifting, I mean, you can see it.
Like look at Larry Wheels, for example.
Yep.
I mean, there's a guy that is as lean as strength athletes get. And, at some point he's going to have to cut water if he keeps gaining muscle at the rate he is to make the 75s. I mean, he just
compete at 308 last weekend?
He did, and he weighed in at like 275.5 or something like that because he didn't feel like cutting water. But listen, if it was a meet that he'd really seriously tried to like just get everything out, he would have for sure gone 275, And there's many other examples of if really mature lifters, like the guy who was at I just know his Instagram name, PH Deadlift.
Yep, Ben Polak.
Ben Polak, he's, just shredded. Not bodybuilder shredded, but powerlifter shredded.
Oh, yeah,
sometimes
of course.
He even gets bodybuilder shredded. But, he's, the guy like that, you can't say, well, we should just get leaner. I mean, he's already as lean as it gets. He gets any leaner, he's going to start to lose strength in a big way. So weight cutting is natural, and you would be stupid not to take advantage of it. But the big caveat is for, like, beginner lifters and people who are kind of just in the middle of a weight class as they're developing. So, for example, if you're moving between the 220s and the 242s, and you kind of weigh like 238, 239, should you try to cut to 220 if you've been lifting for 5 years and you're just going to set PRs for yourself and have fun? No.
Yeah.
No. If it's your first or second meet, there's no way you should be cutting weight because you're just going to get creamed anyway. Some guy's going to not cut weight and beat you in your own weight class. Forget about the overall. So it's just one of these things where I think a way of feeling like they belong, beginner lifters will cut weight just to kind of go in and be like, oh, I'm a power lifter.
Oh, yeah. Well, I think there's they romanticize the concept of it, so they can, when they're talking to people, they're like, "Yeah, I got 5 more pounds to lose. I'm water loading. I got to go to the store buy 8 gallons of water."
Totally, it's just a thing of belonging. It's like the equipped setup, like the raising your hands like this for the deadlift, shaking out the straps. Like, there's no straps to raw deadlift. You just reach down.
I love just watching people like on Instagram. Like I'm scrolling through, and I'll just like watch like the little like the completely like wrong shit that they do, like when they're squatting, but they do it just because they've seen like other people do it. Like the whole like when they're getting ready to squat. I love it when they like completely like raise the bar like a foot. They're like.
Yeah.
Everyone listening does not. I just like shrugged my shoulders like 6 inches.
Just literally just getting that block set up.
Yep.
Breathe in and go.
Yep.
Yeah, it's all that stuff. The whole like deadlifting the bar 2 inches off the ground before really starting to pull it kind of thing. And
Yep.
it's that same thing with weight cutting, is where you're trying to fit in where you're not advanced enough, or it's not a requirement for you to do this kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So is there like a number? So like initially when you're talking about just get leaner, is there a number where you're like, all right, once you get to this body fat around there, it just doesn't, like, diminishing returns?
10%.
10%
for males, and 17%, 15% for sure for female.
Mm-hmm.
Get much below 15%, you no longer have periods. Most women with an average female body fat distribution will have clean abs at 15%.
Mm-hmm.
Getting much leaner than that without chemical assistance, and then you just apply the male numbers, is just going to be so. There's nothing really about being much leaner that makes you worse at powerlifting until you get freaky lean.
Mm-hmm.
It's not the being lean, it's the getting lean and the staying lean that takes so much of your effort away from recovery and away from alternate training. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so you get to a certain body fat and like 10% for a male. So maybe if you're 20% body fat, initially it's like, okay, well, why don't you just drop a little fat and then go from there?
And because you're 20%, you're probably not a serious contender for winning anything super important. So why put your body through all that stress cutting weight when it's like, who gives a shit? But, if you want to, and you've been training in enough years and competing enough times, and you want a particular state record or something, or you just want to do your best and you're pretty close to the next weight class down. Like if you're 225 walking around, anything but your first or second meet, there's no reason to not go 220.
Yeah, you're so close.
So, but if you're 235, you better be a pretty serious reason you're cutting weight. So that's weight cutting. So kind of when to do it, when not to. The biggest differences between a 2-hour weigh-in and a 24-hour weigh-in are twofold, and they're corollaries of each other.
Mm-hmm.
The magnitude of the depletion and the amount of preparation and effort and intervention that is required to make the cut, and exactly concomitantly, the magnitude of the repletion efforts. So a 2-hour weigh-in, you cut a little bit, you replete it really simply and easily, you're done. With a 24-hour weigh-in, both sides of the equation, both sides of the timeline have to be meticulous and major, and a lot of stuff has to go on. And one of the sort of reflections in how much intervention the 24-hour requires versus the 2 is how long back and how long after making weight you actually are altering the systems in order to do special things to make weight and to put weight back on. So a proper 24-hour cut actually can start a week and a half out, but definitely starts like 3 to 5 days out for sure. Right? A 2-hour cut, you may just have recommendations for the day before, the day of, and then the 2 hours after.
From the diet standpoint, or from water as well?
Everything. Yeah.
Okay.
So for the 2-hour weigh-in is really just like, basically for a 2-hour weigh-in, if Wednesday somebody told you you're not competing Saturday, you're competing Friday, you should be able to make weight.
Mm-hmm.
If somebody tells you that in a 24-hour weigh-in, you're like, this is absolutely not going to happen.
Yeah.
Or it's just going to be super dangerous. So it's one of those things that there's just not a lot of momentum and a lot of moving parts to a 2-hour weigh-in, both before and after. But before and after a 24-hour weigh-in is quite serious. And the repletion is quite serious. And there are a lot of things you have to get right about the repletion. Otherwise, the only thing you checked off the list for the depletion was I made weight.
Yeah.
But remember, the point isn't simply to arbitrarily make weight and then show up. The point is to show up at your best or close, and how you get the weight back, and to the extent that you get it back, do you do it properly? That is a matter of some details and a consistent application of effort throughout the remaining 24 hours, right? So it's not just the first 6 hours and you kind of coast. The entire time you're still working against time. Ideally, you could have a 36-hour weigh-in Ideally being people would actually just try to kill themselves.
Yeah, I was going to say 36 hours.
They actually had that at the WPO Super Finals back in the
yeah, I think I remember hearing about that. Like it was probably
and
nuts.
Guys would cut just suicidal amounts of weight. I guess I should rephrase that and say, if it was a 24-hour weigh-in, but something weird happened and they said, hey, you have another 12 hours, that you could fully return to normal performance and that wouldn't happen. So a 24-hour weigh-in is, with how ambitious people get, it's very important to note that up to, if you follow rational protocol for repletion, up to a 5% weight loss is completely repletable with no effect on performance.
Okay.
Up to a 7.5% weight loss is possible to replete completely, but you got to be on the money and lucky, genetically lucky to be a good repleter. 10% body weight, which some people do and is really insane, is not only just life-threatening at that point, but full repletion is very difficult to pull off and just unlikely. There's a lot of guys that have pulled off a cut from roughly 250 to 255 to 220. Now, a lot of those guys are taking a whole lot of the kind of hormones that make you store a lot of body water anyway. And the good thing about that is it allows you a bigger cut because you have more body water. So it's actually not any more unsafe, right? Somebody cutting drug-free from 238 to 220 could be in just as much danger as someone cutting on drugs from 255 to 220 because the drug guy just has that much more body water to lose. And they never get to this really crazy depleted state. But most of the people, as far as I've been able to tell, that cut those kinds of magnitude, 10% plus, they're trading off something on meet day, and a lot of times it's something pretty significant.
Yeah.
Also, the injury rates for cutting water are as you would expect.
Yeah.
They're dependent on how much you can replete, and so you're starting to play with fire. So if you can't replete everything and you cut a lot, your injury probability is going to be higher. And there's nothing like taking drier tendons and muscles and putting them under really the hardest strains you possibly can.
Yeah. At least you're not getting punched in the face.
I guess. But then again, the other guy made the water cut too. The bar doesn't make a water cut.
No, it doesn't.
800 pounds is still 800 pounds. But if the guy made a water cut and so did you in MMA,
Yeah, exactly.
It might be tired too.
Yeah, at least the playing field's level.
For sure.
I only really cut crazy weight like 1 year. I can't remember if we talked about that in the last podcast, but it was like my sophomore year. It was the only year I really cut crazy weight. I was wrestling 96, and I'd routinely get up to like 108.
Yeah.
So it's pretty.
People don't
crazy.
think that, because that doesn't sound like a huge difference, but by percent, it's fucking enormous.
Yeah.
So let's see. 9 times 3 is 27. 6 times 3 is 18. So it's 288 pounds. And then what did you say? 108?
Yeah, I'd get to like 108, and then I'd wrestle 96, but normally I'd make 98. Like
324 to 290 pounds.
Yeah.
That's a monster fucking cut. That is,
and mind you, I was like really lean too. Obviously.
Sure. So that's bordering on, if you cut 10, yeah, it's 10% cut.
Yeah.
That is at the very top end of what sport physiologists say probably won't kill you, but it'll get you close.
Yeah.
Anything, I'll put it to you this way. I have myself coached quite a few individuals through water cuts. I can coach 5%, no problem. 7.5%, they get a long talk. 10%, they better be world class and really know their shit. And 10 plus, I simply most times won't have anything to do with that.
Yeah.
There's a choice coaches can make. Do you want to be involved in something? And sometimes you just got to walk out of the room. You tell the lifter or the wrestler or the fighter, listen, I just don't think you should be doing this. And if you're going to do it, unfortunately, I can't help you, because not only do I think it's unsafe, I just don't have the wherewithal to make you safe. It's like spotting it's like back spotting someone with a 900-pound squat. You're like, I I think we should wait till more people show up.
Why don't we get a couple
and they're
more
like,
people?
right. And they're like, no, you got this. They're like, no, you don't understand. I don't got this. I appreciate the faith, but I just don't know what to do when shit hits the fan. So same way with 10+% body weight loss, I just think it's, and am I here to discourage that sort of thing? Yes. And everyone except for world-class lifters, when you're aiming for all-time world records, you're juiced up to the moon, and you will make some trade-offs to be the best. And some of those are dangerous. And I am not particularly interested in talking people out of making very dangerous trade-offs. I am very interested in making sure they are aware of the kind of trade-offs they're making. And if you're, these people are adults, right? These aren't high school wrestlers. Yeah. You're a power lifter. You're a 33-year-old man. If you so happen to feel yourself inclined to cut 12% for the world championships, live by the sword, die by the sword. You're not I was going to say you're not an idiot. You may very well be an idiot if you do that.
Definitely,
but you're a grown man, and you've been informed, and so you can skydive. Mm-hmm. You can simply get a bottle of Jack Daniels and drink yourself to death in one night. But same idea. So just
a lot
know
of
what you're
people
getting
do
yourself into.
Dangerous shit.
For sure. It's just all about one thing we really try to do, just in the evidence-based community in general. I think just good people, forget evidence-based, just good coaches in general, good sort of public intellectuals in our field, is just to try to get people to not immediately assume that what the very best do applies to them and try to do it themselves. Because, you'll have junior lifters, people who have just started lifting, make unbelievable water cuts to try to be like their heroes. Mm-hmm. And look, your heroes, you got a doctor administering diuretics. You don't.
And IVs right after they get off the scale.
Exactly. And monitored by people. Like, he doesn't go in the sauna alone, but you only post on Instagram. You don't have any friends. You're in the sauna by yourself and taking selfies, and you pass out in the sauna, you're going to die.
Oh, yeah, you're fucked up at that point.
So it's just one of those things where if you're interested in the water cutting game, my best advice is to first learn as much as you can about it. And second, actually the Renaissance Diet Book 2.0 is going to be coming out this summer. It's got a whole section on proper water cutting, which is taken almost directly from Renaissance Woman, which is our female diet book. It's almost the same recommendations. Yeah. But learn as much as you can. And if you're going to water cut, start out easy. Start out, just try to cut 5 pounds for a meet with a 24-hour weigh-in. And then a 2-hour weigh-in is really more about just very fine-tuned manipulations. Here's an example of a 2-hour cut. The day before your 2-hour weigh-in, so like let's say you're competing Saturday at 11 a.m. Yeah. You weigh in at 9. So the day before, Friday, starting from the morning, you keep your food volume low, right? So you're just not creating a lot of poop. Yep. Mostly protein shakes or casein puddings, and not a ton of veggies, not a ton of grains, not stuff that holds you up. And by like 8 p.m., you're going to cut your water to pretty much no water. And then you're going to just be pretty dehydrated. You're going to wake up and be like, 3 to 5 pounds in body weight, 2 to 4 pounds lower than you normally are. You're going to show up to the meet, you're going to weigh in, and you're going to pound like half a gallon of Gatorade mixed with whey protein and salt and creatine to really replenish as much carbohydrate and fluid as possible. And then you're going to eat, after you pound that over the course of 20 minutes or 30 minutes, you're going to eat a nice, Subway sandwich that's very lean with those chips and plenty of salt and tons of carbs. Then you're going to sit around for an hour and a half, and then the meet's going to start, and you're going to have a really good time. Yeah. It's really about that simple. If you want to make things more complicated for a 2-hour weigh-in, you're asking for trouble. There is a slight exception to that. So that's for powerlifting and weightlifting. It's really easy to drive the maximum performance point home, because here's the deal. If you train, usually not on a diet, not depleted, which I sure hope is the case, all the numbers you're used to hitting in the gym, you're used to hitting strong as your strongest. And usually when there's a competitive field and, you're a competitive person, you want to hit actual PRs at the meet, not like, weight cut PRs. Yeah. So
body weight really PR.
Exactly. Like to PR, like asterisk below, it says asterisk equals while depleted post cut. You're like, okay. Those lifters, weightlifters, powerlifters, it's easy to talk them in to not trading off any performance and, again, repleting really well, not cutting too much. Because, you only got to get burned once or twice with that to stop doing it. Like a weightlifter will try to run what would be a 4-hour cut at a 2-hour cut, just bomb out or just hit openers only and do this twice, just to know it's not a fluke. And they'd be like, fuck that. I'm just cutting too much weight. I'm just going to stay leaner, stay right above 94 kilos, and I'm going to cut from 96 to 94. It'll be easy repletion. I'll perform great. So I was cutting from 97, 98 bullshit. It's just not working. And that's totally cool. Fighters, grapplers are a little bit more difficult to talk into because there are some exceptions. For example, let's say you have in your normal walk-around weight class an absolute stud, Jordan Burroughs. Mm-hmm. And you want to cut for a mat side weigh-in, which isn't even 2 hours. I mean, it's right there, right? And you know that you're going to mow through your division even at 90%. Like, you train with the best guy in that division, and on your average training session, if you go live, you usually tech fall the guy, right? Like, you're not pinning him regularly, but you tech fall the guy. So can you cut so much weight that you get out of your division, get back most of your juju, most of your mojo, not feel completely crisp, but still maybe not tech fall the guy, but like beat him, 10-7 reliably, but like a conservative 10-7, where the only reason it wasn't higher is you're just trying not to get hurt and trying to pace the match and just eke it out. You know what I'm talking about. We've all wrestled eke out matches where you're like, I'm beating you on my terms.
Honestly, this is an example. In my head, I have so it was the first tournament my sophomore year when I made that big cut to 96. I'm in the finals, and perfect example. That kid, I get up. I'm like up. I don't know, like maybe like 8-4 or something. And I'm like, we're good. We're just not going to do anything else because I don't have the energy to do anything else. It's 10 o'clock at night, and I cut 10 pounds yesterday.
Yep. A really good wrestler knows how to stall while active.
So, just acting like you're doing something. You'll even take a stalling call if you have to.
Well, for sure, totally. You can take one. It's the first one's just a warning after all, right? It's like the yellow light, right? You don't have to stop just yet. So, totally. So in that situation where you have what it takes to eke it out, I can't say that cutting to a point where it degrades your performance to some extent is a bad idea. Now, if you're Jordan Burroughs, for example, and you're going back to the Olympics, and there's like a Russian guy or Ukrainian guy or some shit there that's beat you before.
Yeah, she got beat by a Russian dude, I think, last Olympics. Yeah,
that's right. You don't go against a guy like that at 95%.
No.
On sheer psychology, it's a bad idea. Imagine warming up and feeling a bit gassed and being like, God damn it, I know I'm still dehydrated.
Have that. I've had that before.
Totally, right? You just don't want to be there at all.
You stop warming up at that point.
For sure. You're like, I just got to drink more water and sit down. But it's just one of those situations where in combat sports, unless it's a special case, there's still a really good argument to be made by coaches and other fighters to talk a fighter into not doing such a crazy cut they don't rebound back to close to their full potential. MMA is pretty easy to make the case because it's an all-out fight. You're getting punched, you're getting kicked. The endurance is much higher than for wrestling because there's just the round system longer, right? There's just more time, and in wrestling, there's all kinds of clever ways to stall out. And MMA, and you're always on the chopping block. You got to move, and it's just difficult to do that at anything short of close to 100%. I will say though, there is a real nasty trend in weight class sports. I'll talk about two trends actually. I hope this is still on subject.
Oh, we're good.
Okay. So two nasty trends in specifically MMA, but it absolutely applies in wrestling, very much in jiu-jitsu, etc. There's this idea that the lower you fight, the better. Like if I can make 170, great. But if I was at 155, oh man, it's like, you'd be a skinny fucking loser. It's just one of those things. Like if If you magically got down there and still weighed 170 and still did what you could do at 170 at 155, you would indeed be the man. But that magic isn't there. And, you get, let's say you're a 170 guy that somehow made the cut to 55. Let's say you did it months in advance, too, so you lost some actual weight, some tissue, and then you did the gnarliest water cut ever, and let's say you couldn't replete completely, or the fatigue from the water cut, you just couldn't, erase the fatigue. You're now fighting against a guy who arguably is as muscular as you, just shorter, is super sharp, super quick, ferocious. And you could usually beat a guy like that by a little because he's also a champ. But now you gave up everything that you had as an edge. Your size. You're the same size now. Your strength. He might be stronger than you because you're so depleted. So there's this temptation to just always make the next weight class down. And people forget. And here's the thing. Am I going to deny that higher weight classes are tougher? No. Well, those weight classes are there for a reason. You don't want to fight. What's his name? The MMA guy, the current super heavyweight champ.
Stipe?
Yeah, Stipe Miocic. You don't want to fight Stipe. Nobody wants to fight Stipe. I mean, there's just a lot of human being to be hitting you and shit like that. Pound for pound is cute until Stipe hits you in the fucking face. And you're like, fuck that. But you don't take calculated hits from Stipe.
No.
You don't be like, I'm going to take a takedown. I'll take a couple hits on the way in. Like, you take one hit from a guy like that, you end your career, right? Yeah. So, yes, being bigger is definitely a disadvantage. But here's the thing. When you're bigger, when you decide not to make the cut because you're way too lean already and it just wouldn't make sense, okay, so you're fighting in the 170s. The guys are bigger and stronger. You're bigger and stronger. The guys are slower. People don't think about that. That's a disadvantage. And one of the things about – here's the interesting thing. If you make a water cut, there's no real physiological rationale to say that you're more likely to have a soft chin or get knocked out more. There is plenty of rationale to say you will gas out faster. So when you don't make the cut, you have plenty of gas for a guy that doesn't have much gas to begin with, 170. If you make a shitty cut to 55, you're up against gas machines that just run around all the time. You're like, why did I come down to a weight class that was faster with no gas? This is the stupidest thing I've ever done. So does it make sense to cut when the conditions are right and you have the weight to lose? Absolutely. If you can go lower, do go lower. But sometimes the can is a no and people still insist on it because that rule of can go lower, do go lower, they just forget the can go lower and they just say, do go lower. The rule is do go lower. Let's go lower.
If it's possible at all.
You've seen that in wrestling a bunch of times.
Oh, yeah.
So, and there's always an underestimate of, I think, how tough the guys are in the lower weight classes. So like, well, yeah, I'm usually at 35. This guy's 119. I'm going to crush him. Be like, I don't know, some of these 119s, man, they're just like jacked,
and the speed. I think the speed element that you pointed out, that especially in wrestling and MMA as well, like that doesn't get accounted for enough. Like the speed difference 100%. Per weight class is so different. 100%. Yeah. So that's one temptation that as coaches, we like to try to talk people out of just making pointless cuts to nowhere and getting them, if necessary, comfortable in their actual weight classes. Like the guys will say shit like, yeah, but these guys are so jacked. Like, you're jacked too, you dumb asshole. Yeah. Or if they're not that jacked, like, you're faster than these guys and you're lankier and you got better technique. And they're like, oh, I guess. Like, I just don't want to fight these strong dudes. Like, look, nobody wants to fight a man, but you want to fight these fast dudes when you're gassed out? No. So there's that. And that tends to occur in fighters and males. What occurs in females is a little different, but nonetheless unfortunate. What occurs too often is females have a real confounding of appearance, sexuality, and strength performance. I've written quite extensively about this, I think, in the Renaissance Diet book, which actually I think the number 2 or 3 best-selling book on our website, Renaissance Woman, it's called. I talk about female dieting issues, and this is one of them. A lot of it comes from external factors, like cultural factors, for example. Coaches, both male and female coaches, when a girl loses weight, now, regardless of what her performance does, will say, hey, Stacy, you look pretty good. You're looking good, right? Or the coach will say, I really like you at this weight. The coach is fucking retarded and
is confusing his own sexuality for what the female should look like, or the female coach is fucking retarded and confusing her own ideal of what a woman should look like in her head, harkening back to her days of youth, versus performance, right? It's a mistake. But let me make this very, very clear. And I don't intend to be politically incorrect, but this is just a statement of empirical fact. The majority of the opinion about which way to go on weight cuts comes from within the female. And it is unlikely to be coming from culture because it is almost completely culturally universal. In almost every culture, you give women the choice, they will elect to be smaller. Now, I don't like this one bit. On a personal, unrelated note, I like my girls thick as hell. I don't talk
thick and juicy.
Girls. Sweet Lord, yes. But then again, that's just as arbitrary on who gives a shit what I like, right? So a lot of girls just want to be smaller purely because they like the look. And a lot of times it's not even explicitly about impressing guys. Sometimes it's more about impressing other girls. Like, fuck that bitch, she's fat. All right, you got her, right? You win. Welcome back to middle school. But a lot of times it's just how girls feel in their own bodies. And there's not a damn thing wrong with wanting to look like what you want to look, like how you want to feel in your body. If you want to look 120 pounds and feel 120, girl, bless your heart. However, do not get this twisted with optimal performance. So sometimes, here's an example. You'll have a girl who weighs 140 pounds, shredded, stacked, strong as fuck. And you'll be like, all right, you're going to be competing in, let's just make up a weight class just for convenience. You say you're going to be competing in the 138 weight class or something like that. And she'd be like, ooh, I want to go 126. And you're like, why? She's like, I don't know, just 126. And be like, okay, hold up. What if we could go 114? She'd be like, really? Be like, no, I'm just fucking with you. Like, it doesn't matter, and there's this whole Instagram culture that plays into it where girls will see, like, they'll share their video and be like, hit this total XYZ at, 132 pounds. And they'll scroll down their own feed afterwards, all proud of themselves. And they'll see, like, oh, Samantha, that fucking bitch from California, hit, whatever, like she hit, it's a lower total, right? But she hit it at like 102. Fucking little bitch. And then she hits that, she scrolls in, and those like cutesy pictures of outfits. Like, I wonder what size she wears. I bet it's a small. Fucking asshole. I have to buy medium. Like, I mean, nobody in the world cares except for that girl, right? Can you imagine like asking guys like, hey, how much do you think that girl weighs? Show them a picture of a hot girl. They'll be like, I don't give a shit. Who cares? What? Like, it'd be like, you can imagine like somebody like, I don't know, a super, super hot girl, like, insert J-Lo, right? J-Lo in her prime. You'd be like, okay, here's the trick, guy. She has an adamantium skeleton and she actually weighs 800 pounds. Were you still interested? To be like, yes, I'm even more interested now. Does she have the claws? Right? But it's just like, this body weight's irrelevant. But to girls, and it comes from many people from a place deep within, there's this attachment to the lower the number on the scale is, the better. It's just not about performance. So when we get into the water cutting situation, girls will just be just like the MMA guy. If you can make the cut, do it. Turns into do it. Whatever it takes, do it. Make the cut, and then you get this like with girls. Interestingly enough, you get even worse because they'll do a year-round diet to get as lean and as skinny as possible, and then make the water cut. Right? Almost like sometimes just out of pure joke. And I mean, this is a serious issue, but I don't think any situation can be completely bereft of humor. I can almost be like, okay, ideal women's weight class, 0 pounds. That fucking disappear. And guess what? You're not lifting anything, but you were never in this to lift anything, were you? You were just in this to try to tell people your body weight and go for attention and post cutesy pics. It's like, I've coached tons of female athletes. I'm friends with a ton of them. A ton of my colleagues are female athletes at Renaissance. And sometimes, just like with males, you got to real talk females. You be like, look at me, goddammit. Are you here to lift weights and be a fucking Amazon, or are you here to be a Barbie doll? And they're like, God damn it, you're right. And then just go 142 or 138 or whatever, smash a bunch of records and be like, thank you, sorry, had a fucking moment.
You see that with guys too, though. I call it like guys that they're like chronic dieters. Like they'll tell you, they'll like come to you and be like, dude, my goal is to hit the highest total. But then every time you talk to them, they're on a diet. Like they're 100%. Always dieting. Their goal is strength. They'll tell you their goal is strength. But they're always dieting.
100%. And it's then you say, but you try to like put that on them, and you say, okay, so what really is the goal? And they're like, well, it's strength for my size. To be like, well, like, I hate to tell you this, and it doesn't apply to girls, just to guys. Mm-hmm. Like, if you're a girl and you weigh 110 pounds and you lift a lot for your weight, people are really impressed. Mm-hmm. If you're a guy and you weigh 110 pounds, you lift a lot for your weight, there's some category of girls, guys, old people, kids that just won't be impressed because you're small and you're objectively not lifting that much weight. Like I've seen so like a really good bench press for a 100-pound guy is like 280 pounds, but that's incredible. Yeah. But like I can do 280 asleep with no warm up. Like, am I impressed that they weigh 100 pounds and can do that? Yes, but like the net sum multiplicative total of impressiveness is like, I mean, that's great, and I think guys tend to forget that, and they get down this journey of like, oh, relative, mm-hmm. and they end up just kind of going nowhere. And the thing is, the worst part about that chronic dieting is it screws them out of long-term progress. Yes. And they could have been adding muscle during this time. So, like if you want a weight class, if you want a relative total, commit 6 months to it, go get it. Once you got it, start making some more muscle gains, get bigger, grow up. You're not a child. If you're a man, if you're a guy, you're not supposed to be trying to chase, close to what, unless you have the frame for it, right? Mm-hmm. But the people we're talking about aren't built like Naim Suleimanoglu from Turkey. They're not 4'11". They're like 5'7", and they're like, I'm going to cut to like the 120s. And you're like, okay, say whatever you want. But so there's those issues there. And I think a lot of that just comes down to good coaching. And less good coaching from a technical perspective, good coaching from the perspective of let's just calm down, sit down, and just try to figure out what our goals are and what our best bet is to achieve them. Because I tell you what, Kyle, I think the number top, I was going to say number one, is going to be something I make up. One of the top problems / priorities in sport training is the development of clear objectives. Sometimes I swear to God, athletes and lifters and regular folks involved in fitness have no fucking earthly idea. They're just working out and they're kind of just entering a meet. And it's like, what do you want out of this? And they're like, to do well. And you're like, okay, you can just apply that to every second of your life. You can do it well at washing the dishes. But clearly, that's always your goal. Like, if you want to sleep, you want it to be good at sleeping, too.
I want to sleep well.
Exactly. Like, great. So does everyone else. So you got to get more specific, and you got to think, where am I really going? What do I really want? Do I want to be in the 181s, or do I want to be in the 165s? You got to pick months out and then make a plan and not be impulsive. Impulsive weight cuts are they're not new, and you're not the first person to try one. So when you're like, ooh, but what if I shut up, you're not among the first million people to think of this stupid harebrained, half-baked idea, and calm yourself, center yourself, with your coach, figure out what the best way forward is, and then do that. And if it's logical, you'll do really well. And especially for females, just a little reminder: the sport of powerlifting and weightlifting, et cetera, is about performance, not about seeing how you could get to be the smallest person. If you really want to be small and lean, just do figure or something.
Yeah,
step on stage. However, they don't even weigh you. So
that'd probably be the problem.
Oh, yeah. Can you imagine if they started weighing bikini and figure girls?
Oh my God.
And
then they displayed it up on when they went out. They're like, here's so-and-so. She weighed in at 103.
Everyone's like, woo. And then another one's like 150, but she doesn't look it. Everyone's like, where's all her 150?
Yeah. It's like, she must have lied.
That's right. She likes extra squeezed on the scale. So luckily that doesn't happen. But it's one of those things that remember your priorities, and for males and females, remember that don't let your cutting, especially early in your career, interfere, especially with fat loss phases that are needless and weight loss phases. Don't let it interfere with your long-term development.
I think that's an important point. People
aren't going to remember you for when you cut from 65 to 48 that one time, but they will remember you when you make top 3 at nationals at 198 5 years later because you're fucking jacked, right? But if you do one of those, you might not be able to do the other, or you might arrive later to the scene. You might have more injuries by then. Every moment in lifting that you're not on the right path, you're on the wrong path. And paths lead places. And if you're on the right path for longer, you get further down the right path. It's just that simple.
Well, yeah, I think regardless of weight cutting, but just the idea of if your ultimate goal is to be the best powerlifter, be as strong as possible, you really have to question when you're spending 3/4 of the year in a diet, in a deficit. Like it's 100%. Like you said, you set your goal. Now, are your actions meeting that goal?
100%. 100%. And yeah, I think my I was going to say fiance, I fucked up. I got married today.
You got married today.
That's right. My wife often kind of not mocks, but brings a little bit of sort of questioning to some of these hashtags, like hashtag dual athlete, where it's like, I'm a bodybuilder and a powerlifter. It's like one of those, one of my Facebook friends, Eddie Alvarez, he has this emoji he always puts on, and it's
not
like
the UFC
Tina
fighter.
Fey. No, yeah, right. It sounds really similar. It's the Tina Fey emoji where she's like doing the slow clap. She's like, it's one of those where it's just like, wow, you're mediocre at two things.
Yeah.
But a lot of times the reason that particularly females, now not all females by any stretch, but there's a couple in particular folks that do this, is you can see it comes clearly from a place of just body image stuff going on. Like the only reason they love powerlifting, they don't like bodybuilding particularly. The only reason they're doing the physique stuff is because they just want to have a logical reason to tell people why the fuck it is they're trying to stay as lean as possible at all times.
Like an excuse almost.
Exactly. Exactly. I couldn't have. Are you still getting me on video?
Yeah, I'm still getting you. Did I have my thing? Yeah, we're good.
Okay.
I'm still getting you.
Yeah, you were like frozen for a while. I was like, wow, he's doing an awesome ventriloquist.
I can sit here and not even look like I'm moving at all.
Amazing.
Not even on blink.
Amazing. Well, I sure as hell don't. I got the weird blinking thing going on. Yeah. It's funny. I've had my videos out for a while. Some of the commentators are like, "What's up with this blinking?" It's like, I fucking blink weird. What's up with fuck you? What's up with your life? You know?
How do you blink? How do you notice?
I just like blink excessively.
Oh.
And it's like some of the blinks are really long. It's like a Tourette's type of tick or whatever.
I don't even pay attention to that shit.
Well, that's the stuff that really makes you the kind of person you are. You know what I mean? Like, here lies, Franklin Delano Roosevelt. He blinked a lot, or not enough, or something like that. Like World War II, whatever. It's minor.
It's wild how you think. Like, I actually think like maybe when I was younger, I probably noticed like a bunch of stuff.
Little kids notice all the stuff.
Exactly. That's what I was gonna get to. Like my daughter will notice like this shit that like you just like look over it.
Dude, let me tell you some shit. You feel free to edit this out. You don't have to. I'm perfectly fine being a record
keep it in unless it gets too crazy.
Totally. Little kids are full of wonder and joy. Caveat.
Yeah.
Main point. Little kids come into the world by definition uncivilized. They are little monsters. And it is society's and parents' job to literally civilize them. And one of the hallmarks of civilization is an understanding that people have a deeper value than their external characteristics. Little kids, like I have this, you never see it on camera. I have this little thing here. It's like just a little like extra nodule of flesh on my ear. I haven't had a grown adult even notice it ever.
Yeah.
When I was in school, like in elementary school, every single kid was like, "What's wrong with your ear?" And I was like, nothing wrong. I don't know. There it is. But you know as much about it as I do now, right? And just names and making fun of stuff. And here's the sort of this isn't politically incorrect at all. It's just a little contentious. If it's contentious, touchy subject. I honestly think that the majority of little kids, primed with no culture whatsoever, are homophobic, transphobic, racist, sexist. All the ists, you name it, they're all that shit. Xenophobic because other languages trip them out.
Yep. Anything that's different.
Go ahead.
I was going to say anything that's different than them.
Anything different. Anything different. Like you let like a little white kid play with a bunch of black kids and they'll be like, "What's wrong with your skin?"
Yep.
All the way around, they'll be like, "Why are your hands white and the top of your skin is black?" Like just ridiculous questions that in civil society you'd be like, "Oh my God, why are you saying that?"
Yeah.
Kids will say it, and it's like it's not all of it's from a place of wonder. Like some of it's like derision. They're like, "Oh, you're weird. Like you're not like us. Like if you speak a different language around which is funny. I have because when I came to America, I spoke only Russian. Right? I had to learn English from scratch. Oh my God, I got a ton of shit. Like you don't speak like you speak funny when I speak with an accent, and it's just like people just assume like kids are full of just the good stuff. They're full of tons of good stuff. The kids are full of tons of nasty shit too. You got to get out of them.
Well, if you think of like from like an evolutionary standpoint, it was probably some benefit to
Totally.
Looking at
In-group,
people
out-group.
different. Yeah, you're not in my
100%.
group. Like
100%.
you could be dangerous.
Back when tribal warfare was it. If you were not in the tribe, you were an enemy, and that was really bad. So yeah, no, I don't even know how the fuck we got on the subject.
I don't know either.
It really pains me when people are like, hatred has to be taught. Like, ooh, yes, it can be taught, but hatred also gets just some people just have it.
Yeah.
And the kids have it, a certain amount of it, and it has to be untaught. But it's arguably even harder than teaching it in the first place. So it's one of those things where be like, well, hatred's a learned skill. Like, I don't know about that. I don't think anyone taught any kids to tell me about my fucking lobe on my ear.
Yeah, I don't think that was ever.
Adults don't do that. It's like, the adults act the same way too. Like, well, their mom sure as hell never said anything about my ear.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So anyway, the water cutting stuff, just to put a cap on that, it's all about picking and choosing rational goals and intelligently pursuing them with the guidance of a coach. The way you get into stupid shit, it's just by doing, should I, like the wrestlers talking about water cuts and be like, should I go down? If it starts like that, it's probably already a bad idea.
Yeah, it's probably a no.
Exactly. It could be a good idea, but then it shouldn't be treated as kind of like just like a notion or like a thought experiment or temptation. It should be treated as a serious thing. Like, okay, are you really saying you want to potentially go in a weight class lower? Like, yes, I'm really saying that. Well, what has to come together for that to be realistic? Well, this and this and that. You're like, okay, well, that we can't do. Like, right. So then we just refuted it. Be like, right. Mm-hmm. That's it. Conversation over.
Totally.
If it still sounds tempting after that, you're just being irrational.
And irrational. I think a lot of people get in that situation too, because they get this idea in their head. We kind of talked about this already, but they get this idea in their head that if they go lower, then they have their performance at the higher weight is just going to transfer with them to lower weight. Magically.
Man, there's like friends and I. I'm sure you've done this too with friends. There's always a lifter in your peripheral circle that prognosticates these big performances. Oh, yeah. And one of the ways you get into that is by assuming massive weight cut carryover. Mm-hmm. They'll be like 240 off season, hitting big numbers. And they'll be like, all right, if I peak properly, these are going to be 5% higher. Like, okay.
At 198.
Yes. Right. And literally, I know at least 2 or 3 people that do that.
Yeah.
I think mostly through the internet, right? They'll be like, well, didn't meet at 198. Things did not go as planned. I'm like, no, yes, but they did. They should have gone as expected.
As expected, yeah.
Because you cut 40 fucking pounds over the course of a 16-week diet and then a 20-pound weight cut. How the hell were you expecting to peak? Are you out of your fucking mind? Like, but people do that all the time. And again, that's where the coach comes in. And I always say, man, even if you're a really good lifter, even if you coach yourself, it's really good to have at least a training partner that acts as a pseudo coach.
Yep.
There's I don't know the exact term for this, like a red team analysis. Mm-hmm. So like in the intelligence community, if you have some sort of probability, you figure, okay, there's a probability there's nuclear weapons at the site. You do like what's called there's a lot of names for red teaming. Mm-hmm. Is when a team comes in. Same intelligence agency, just people. You might even know these people, and their job, they're told to find what is the chance that this analysis is mistaken. So they red team it, and they say, okay, you said there was an 80% chance of nukes. We find that there's a 60% chance of it could be any one of these other things. Right, you average those two together, and now we're like 50-50 nukes, right? So should we do the strike? I don't know, maybe, right? Now we need maybe the answer is now we need more intelligence to really get definitive. But if the red team comes back and says, no, yeah, their analysis is pretty good, and there's got to be something there, probably nukes, 70% nukes. Well, now your average is 75. Now you might call the strike or whatever, right? Same thing with coaching. Even if it's just with your training partners.
Just an extra set of eyes.
Yeah, exactly. You're like, I'm thinking I could put together 1,700 at 98, and people are like, "You think
you're not quite there, and you weigh 240?"
Right, exactly. If your training partner gives you that answer, you're like, "Nah, you're right. What do you think's realistic?" And I'm like, 1,600 at 98 is realistic, and then like maybe 1,700, 220, I think you got. And I think maybe if you stay at 242, you can get 1,750 or 1,800. I think you're up to some real good shit. And then it's a conversation. And you're working closer towards the truth together, and I think you're going to arrive at a much more rational plan. On this, very much on this note, and very related to all of this, yes-manning someone is not really being a friend.
No.
If you yes-man someone and you're their training partner and they're a good lifter and you're a worse lifter, you're just a cock rider or a nut hugger. There's 50 other terms for that. Don't be that, because although you might feel yourself just in awe of being around that person and honored to be in their crew, they don't respect you at all, because nobody by definition respects nut riders. It just, nobody does. You know what I mean? Like,
no.
And also, if you're really someone's friend, you're not going to elude them into thinking that that what they're setting themselves up for is a good thing. Like I trained with Charlie Jung, who's a really, really good power lifter, and he's way stronger than me. And he'll look over at me after his last warm up on deadlifts, and he'll give me a range. And sometimes I hit the bottom end of that range. He doesn't bat a fucking eye, integrates his own assessment, and then goes for it.
Yeah.
He's never like, really? Like, you don't think I got this? Like, not ever. And actually, if I say the higher end, he goes, really? You think I got this?
Yeah.
It's the other way. It's just crazy when guys are like, you've been to more than a few meets, I'm sure, with shit like this happening, where some guy's like, he'll pull like a grinder 660 deadlift. He'll turn to his buddies and be like, 700. They're like, put it, attempt 3. And you're like, what are you talking about? I would just say, can the meet. Take your second, run, get stronger, try 680 at your next meet, maybe 670 in the next attempt. But like, this is nuts. And of course, 700 doesn't move off the ground. Just didn't fucking have it today. Like, it's not today. You didn't have it this year. Like, and it's crazy that the people that you trust the most are your training partners, and they're just yes-manning you. You know what I mean? Because people think the opposite is naysaying. Like, you don't want to be a negative force. It's not about negative force. It's about realistic. And another thing is this, like, I think people inherit a lot of their behaviors from their early days into their later days. You got to know how to treat advanced lifters. Advanced lifters have no problem getting pumped up. Advanced lifters know that when there's a barbell loaded in front of them, it's war one way or another. There is no, but I didn't make him confident enough. So if you tell someone, if someone's like, what do you think, 700 on this deadlift? And you're like, I think 690 is a good pull. They're not going to be like, load 690 and mope about it, and then not pull it and be like, should have called for 700 because you busted my calves. Like, what are you talking about? You're a 700-pound puller. You're a fucking machine. You're a war machine. You're going to pull whatever's in front of you. 690 is going to go up. It's going to be a big struggle. You're going to fucking ratchet it up, put it down. You're going to be like, boom, that was perfect attempt selection. Slap, high five.
Well, that's the other side of it. I think sometimes the art of attempt selection gets lost too, because people get this idea of just a number in their head. They're like, I'm going for 700 regardless. I don't give a shit how I feel.
Sweet.
Yeah, that's great.
That makes sense.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
You know what's really funny is we did this summer we did some work with Boris Shako doing some translation like live, and had a lot of conversations with him, and most of these are recorded. To coaches like that, Eastern Bloc coaches who are used to the sports science approach, the idea that you would just dedicate yourself to a number is like just incomprehensible. I guarantee you, if I explained to Shako like we're going for 700 no matter what, he'd be like, what do you mean by that? And if he understood what I meant, he'd be like, those people are idiots. It'd be like, the point
that's every local meet across the country.
100%. The point of a meet is to get as much out of your body as you can, not can't, not could, can.
It doesn't matter what you loaded on the bar if you don't hit it.
It's insane. And for beginner lifters, that motivation stuff really does matter. Challenging them could mean better performance. Just sort of downplaying it could mean that they don't even try on that. But for advanced lifters, high-level intermediates, it doesn't matter what your coach or what your training partners or what you call for. You attack it the same goddamn way one way or another. So if someone says, I came here to pull 700 and it's really a 690 day, when they go to 690, if they're worth their weight in salt as a lifter, they're going to put as much effort in that 690 as they would in a 700 or anything else, except they're going to get it because it's within the realm of possibility.
Well, if you don't, you're not going to get it. You won't even get the 690.
Exactly. If you need a superlative challenge to rise to the occasion, I don't know, man. I don't want to overreach, my criticism here, but it's almost like you're not really an advanced lifter in the true sense of the word.
Yeah.
Like an advanced lifter does what he or she must to reach the goal. Sometimes it's not sexy. A lot of times you'll see these lifters really shine in tight competitions in which there's a tight weight class competition on that day. Mm-hmm. So IPF Worlds.
Yep.
The kind of kilo results, not even pound results, because pounds to us, I mean, obviously it doesn't make any sense because it's all kilo conversion. Mm-hmm. The kind of kilo selections come out and you're like, why did she go for 113.5 kilo? Because that's what it's going to take to win.
Yes.
And that's what she knew was good enough to win, but that she could still hit. Like, you'll have people squatting 314 pounds. And people be like, why didn't you just go for 315? Because any amount of weight on the bar extra would have been pointless towards my goal and would have made up a probability that I would have missed the lift. So that, I mean, if you're across the aisle in a warm-ups from a competitor and you know that they're the kind of person that needs a challenge to rise to the occasion, that's a chink in their armor, man. That's a weakness. But if you're sitting across from a person who's a cold, calculating robot and will do what it takes to win, even if it's not a sexy number, that's scary because you're like, I just have to do my best. There's no way around this.
That goes towards their training too.
100%.
Like you know, people who come from like shit, you see it in the wrestling culture a lot. That's just like, oh, more work, more training is better. Well, I'd rather just do what's optimal.
Yeah, 100%. Well, God, with wrestling, that's like, there's a whole culture of that. Yeah, and wrestling too. I mean, even just on the mat, if you know there's a way to punk your guy out, you got the advantage. But if you know your guy just literally wrestles like a machine, I mean, holy shit, nobody wants to wrestle a machine. No. Nobody, if you're like 5 points up on your guy through the first half, and then you look at him briefly and he has no mood about it whatsoever, you're like, I don't think he thinks he's losing. That's not good. So just the same way in like in powerlifting and in a lot of walks of life, you got to do what's a good idea, and relying on sort of fleeting emotions and choosing attempts based on that, just going to miss a lot. One of the critiques that the Eastern coaches have on Americans is Americans are very strong, they're very good, but they miss a lot of lifts. And missing lifts is both dangerous physically and also long term, it will degrade your psychological abilities, because if you miss a lot of lifts, some of the older lifters have talked about this, you start to remember the platform as a place where you miss lifts.
Yep.
You don't want to do that.
Well, even missing lifts in training. You see guys that they miss a ton of lifts in training. 100%. You're always like, what the hell are you doing?
I mean, that's just sheer baffling. I mean, like, I can understand missing a final pull and competition, just didn't have it with all of your best calculation.
Yeah.
But if regular people miss reps in training, it's like, you better have a goddamn good excuse. You better be sick or something. Because if you're pushing it that far, I mean, 3 sets of 5 to some people mean the last one ends at a 4.5 RM.
Yeah. Well, that happens all the time.
Wrong.
I'll be training in the gym, and I'll be benching or something, finish my last set, and someone will be like watching, and they'll go, "Oh, you had like 2 reps left."
Yep.
I'm like, exactly. That's what I wanted.
Strange concept. That is like, the meme where it's like the lady's looking around and it's all these equations and formulas around her head. Like, that's what they look like after they're like, 2 reps left. Why? They're trying to carry the one and shit, like integrals and shit. I had a couple students spot me when I was a professor lifting at Temple University's gym, and I was doing 405 or 415 close stand squats for sets of 8, and I did a set of 8, and I had like 4 reps in reserve because it's his first microcycle.
Yeah.
And this guy's like, I literally, every rep I did, he's like, yeah, beast mode. I was like, try not to laugh. This man literally unironically just said beast mode. I'm supposed to try to keep it together.
Unironically, that's the key.
And it's incredible. And then I racked it, and he was like, oh, come on, you got more. And I was like, I know. I was like, I know. And he looks at me, he's like, huh, all right. And he was just really confused why I didn't just fucking blow my load on everything.
Seriously, it's so funny. I almost like doing that when I know people are watching. They're just like, I'm like, oh, this is going to be good. That's why I don't ask anybody ever for a spot. And like if I'm at a gym, if I don't know somebody, I'll just go without a spot.
You're definitely flipping a coin on the spot there, man, because some spots turn into disasters. Here's a funny story. An old training partner of mine, Aaron Thomas, who's master's student graduate from East Tennessee State. He's actually a very good coach. He coaches Jennifer Milliken.
Yeah.
I don't know if that means anything.
Yeah.
So him and I were training, and Aaron and I were on the same page with training. It was a great training partner. And we're training at East Tennessee State University's just regular rec facility. And I'm warming up to do close grip incline benches. And I was doing 240 for 4x12 that day. I paused all of my benches. So I took out 240 for a potentiation single, like just one rep, maybe 2 reps, and I was going to put it down. So, I mean, it's close grip incline, and it was a really good bench, so I can hand off to myself, no problem. Because it's a single or double, Aaron was somewhere else, like in front of me doing his like other training bicep curls or something, because I was going to ask Aaron for a fucking spot on something I could literally do for 4x12, and was going to mere moments later. So I unrack the weight, I bring it down, pause at the chest, come up, bring it down, pause at the chest. The next thing I know, you know when you get taken down really fast and you're like, I was like this at first, and then I was on the ground. It was like the next thing I know, there's a guy dragging the weight off of me. And I'm like, okay. So I put it back, and I got off the bench, and I looked at him, and he was like, you okay? And I'm like, yeah. I started laughing. I was like, what's up, man? And he's like, oh, okay. I thought you couldn't bring it up. Yeah. I thought you had gone to failure. And I was like, oh, no. I was just warming up, man. I just paused my reps. And then I was like, I got this super well intentioned. I was like, thank you so much for that. But no worries. And my training partner's over here. He's going to spot me when I'm going to do reps. And this girl was doing like tricep pushdowns really close. And after this whole thing happened, she's like, well, you should really be using a spotter. And I was like, no, I had just gotten my PhD literally like 2 weeks before that or something. And I was like, don't say anything. And I was like, I know it's a 4x12. And I don't even know if she understood. I was like, it was potentiation for 4x12. It almost guarantee you.
I was going to say, she's not going to know what that is.
So she was like,
no point explaining it.
Just saying, I just want to be like, everything you know about lifting, if you put it all together, I know 10 times more than that. On a day in which I'm 50 beers in or something. I was just like, but I just went a cocksucker for no reason. It was just hilarious. The whole thing was hilarious. So then afterwards, Aaron gave me a spot, and of course I leisurely did 4x12 on the first set. Looked around, nobody's saying shit. Look, where are all my free spotters now? Damn it. So a lot of times, like if you do pauses and you don't explain it properly, guys will drag the weight off of you. If you're like, okay, I need help racking it, right? So you'll do your 3 reps in reserve, and you'll be like, rack, and they're like, you got more.
That's what happened to me one time.
Pushing it back to you. Oh my god,
that was like the nail in the coffin. I don't ask
That's
people.
It, man. That'll do you in.
So like, I was at some random gym. I think I was traveling, and my short T-Rex arms. I'm like, I'm gonna ask someone to hand the bar off to me, save my shoulder, whatever. Because normally I just do self lift offs, whatever.
Sure.
So first set, I had like a 5x5 or something, like 315. Unracks it, first set, pound him out real easy. But the dude's like super motivated. So like every rep, he's like,
more than you.
Yeah, good. Good rep. Come on, you got it. Come on. I'm like, okay, this guy's pretty pumped up. Whatever. Get to 5. And I'm like going to rack it. He's like, you got more. He's like, I'm not gonna let you leave any in the tank. I'm like,
I would start yelling and be like, rack.
So in my head, I'm like, fuck, I don't feel like arguing with this dude. Like in the middle while I'm holding fucking 315. So I'm like, I do like 3 more. Rack it. He's like, oh, good job. I'm like, yeah. I got 4 more sets, but okay.
Fuck.
Of course, the rest of the work, it was like trashed at that point, but this was like 3 years ago. It was funny. Yeah.
Oh my God. Did you tell him you just had 5?
No, I don't even think I said anything. I think I was just like, here, I think I told him, honestly, I just want a lift off. Like, I don't even want a spot. I think I was like, here, just hand me off the weight. So I didn't even say anything about rep because I figured he would just give me a lift off and then go do his own shit. You gotta be clear
with people, man. You gotta be because it's overly, like, I'm pedantic when I get a spot. I'm like, okay, I'm going to be pausing my squats. So when I'm down there, I didn't die. Yeah. If I yell at you, drag the weight off. Otherwise, I'm okay. Okay? Like, okay. Don't touch the weight when I'm racking it. Cool. You don't have to help me rack it. Cool. Okay. Almost inevitably, when you start racking a squat, you get 2 side spots.
Yep.
One guy will rack it, the other guy won't. So you're like, It's the worst thing in the world. And people are like, oh, because they think the more they help, the better.
Yep.
Right?
Well, they feel like they have to do something. If you ask, they got to do something.
Yeah. You want to be involved. You get some credit for the lift that way.
Oh yeah, you're like, I was part of that. You see that lift? I was there.
Yeah, so, it's a world record you share. Exactly.
Shit, dude, we might have to do another one sometime. I feel like we could just talk for days.
Let me know.
How can people get more information about you?
I'm done putting out information.
You're done? You're never going to put out another piece?
I never liked information to begin with. I'm more of an emotions kind
We might not have to do any more podcasts then.
But Kyle, I have more emotions to share.
All right, well, we could do that. I'm down for that.
So, for emotions, at RP Strength on Instagram, at RPDRMIKE, RP Dr. Mike.
Actually, you're on Instagram today. You did put some emotional posts about your marriage.
Yeah.
That was kind of.
I let it slip in there by accident.
I was gonna say, is that just gonna be how it's gonna be from now on? More posts like that.
Just all just raw emotion. I'm getting into art. I'm gonna start making art. Just mostly selfies of my genitals.
All right. Well, shit. That might catch on.
But really artistic.
I think you have to do Twitter for that. I don't think Instagram allows it.
Twitpic.
Yeah.
It's funny. I'm on Twitter, but it's an auto repost program from Facebook and Instagram. Yeah. So I'm not on Twitter.
Yeah. So it's just like
I don't ever read any comments.
It's
I
just
actually lost
links.
my password. I have no idea how to log in.
It's probably just all like links to the other posts.
Exactly. So I don't even know how many followers. Twitter is toxic because 280 characters or whatever is enough to just be a piece of shit and make no comprehensive point whatsoever.
Oh, yeah.
Don't get me started on that.
Just
but anyway, so I'm not on Twitter. But if you're on Twitter, I'm Mike Israetel on Twitter. And Facebook, Renaissance Periodization. Facebook, Mike Israetel is probably the best place to find me. It's a public profile. Come follow and troll me and ask questions. And I put a lot of pretty decent intellectual content on Facebook.
Mm-hmm. So good shit. Yeah, we'll have to do another one. We'll talk training next time.
Awesome.
We're slowly getting through some concepts.
We beat up weight cuts pretty well today.
Yeah, I was gonna say we handled weight cuts pretty well.
Fads and fallacies about weight cuts.
We actually we stayed on topic pretty well. I'm proud of us.
To some extent, we got into children and people's bodies and hatred and xenophobia.
It was good. Yeah, we still have to do a training one. We still could probably do a nutrition one too.
Probably a nutrition one. Yeah,
cool. I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Absolute Strength Podcast. I know I had a ton of fun producing it for you. And before you go, if you could just drop me some feedback, I'd love it. I love reading your feedback. So you can go over to iTunes, leave a 5-star rating, write a little review, what you think of the podcast. I absolutely love it. I read every single one. But it's cool if you don't want to do that. I get it. No one wants to really go out of their way to do anything, let alone write a review. But I want to get your feedback. So drop me a line on Instagram at Hunt Fitness, or on Facebook, Kyle Hunt, or on Twitter, or send a pigeon or something. I don't know. I just want to hear your feedback. So if you want to give me some feedback, let me know what you think. Hit me up on Instagram at Hunt Fitness. And before you go, I have one last thing I want to say. I have a program I want you to check out. It's actually called the Absolute Strength Program, and the link is in the show notes. It's a program I designed to help increase my own squat, bench, and deadlift. And I got pretty strong off of it, and I think you're going to like it. It's a great book. Thousands of people have got amazing results from it. It's in the show notes. All right, guys. Until next time. Until next episode. Peace.